Good morning, welcome. We're going to give it just one more minute to let a few people show up. So hang tight. All right. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. I'm Philip Rafshoon. I'm the Director of Member Engagement for Midtown Alliance, and we want to welcome you today to our World Cup webinar. Since 1978, our organization has grown Midtown into the most vibrant, urban, walkable district in the region. And as Atlanta prepares to welcome the world once again, we look forward to welcoming visitors and locals to Midtown Atlanta over the next month. In late March, we met with our hospitality members and partners to help them understand and navigate with the tools to help them plan for the first World Cup to take place in Atlanta this summer. Today, we expand on that, updating what we're doing for destination marketing, bringing in property managers, and letting you know what we know about traffic, transportation, and safety. The FIFA World Cup is the largest sporting event in the world as far as reach and viewership. Um, so whether you want to ensure your tenants, your residents, or your employees about traffic and how to get around and what to expect, or whether you're amplifying your offerings of food and beverage, presentations, performances, uh, exhibitions, or watch parties, we want you to come away from this webinar better prepared to take advantage of all that's happening in Atlanta and Midtown during the World Cup. Our agenda today will be this welcome here, uh, transportation by Rob Kelly, public safety by Marcus, destination marketing with Brian, and then we'll have a discussion of what you're planning and some Q&As. Along the presentation, if you have questions, go ahead and submit them to the questions, and we will likely answer them at the end of the session. But if there are burning questions, we'll answer them as we're moving along. So from this point, I'm going to turn it over to Rob Kelly. He is our Senior Program Manager at Midtown Transportation, the part of Midtown Alliance which works with employers to ensure that their employees can take advantage of all of the transportation options in Midtown, walking, biking, public transit, and cars if they need to. So with no further ado, I'll hand it over to Rob.
Thank you, Philip. I'm going to provide a brief refresher and overview over the tournament and then some transportation updates. So as a quick refresher, I'd like to show the schedule for this summer's games. Atlanta, as a reminder, has 8 matches over a 30-day period. We have 5 group stage matches, and then we have 3 knockout or elimination round games. The games begin on June the 15th, and our last game will be held on July the 15th. Just for context, Atlanta has 8 of the total 104 matches. The tournament has 104 total matches. We have 8. And then we are one of 16 host cities across the United States, Canada, and Mexico that is scheduled to host matches. So we are certainly a big player in an even bigger ecosystem for this summer's Summer of Soccer. The official fan fest and watch party that is associated with the World Cup will be held in Centennial Olympic Park. It's really the main watch party that'll be taking place in downtown Atlanta. And it's a ticketed event, and they are really doing some updates and build outs in Centennial Olympic Park to make it a great outdoor viewing destination for folks that don't have tickets and still want to watch in the company of other folks. If you're in this webinar and you're realizing that you're seeing this information for the first time, or if you just like to get caught back up to speed, I'd like to direct you to our midtownatl.com/FIFA landing page. This has got all the information that we're going to share today linked and got great updates from our local partners and really can kind of give you a foundational background if you feel like you're kind of late to the game in understanding what all is taking place with the World Cup. So without further ado, I will transition into helping us understand what to expect for the World Cup. The next few slides are from our friends at the Atlanta Regional Commission, really to kind of give context and help us understand what to expect and what crowd sizes we'll see, et cetera. So over the 30 days that we'll have World Cup activities in Atlanta, 18 of those days will have the FIFA Fan Fest in operation. So we'll have all 8 of our match days. We'll have the Fan Fest be in operation, and then we'll have 10 additional days where we won't have games taking place in Atlanta, but the Fan Fest will be in operation at Centennial Olympic Park. These will likely be our busiest days downtown, but the message I'd like to remind everyone about is that Atlanta does big events really, really well. The large events that you see kind of referenced at the bottom of this screen kind of help us understand what similar events are held in Atlanta and what their crowd sizes are in comparison to the World Cup. I'll also add that when you think about Fan Fest and a soccer match going on at the same time, the size of that is roughly equal to some of the evenings that we have throughout the year in downtown Atlanta, where we might be having an MLS match and an NBA game going on at the same time, or a large conference or convention at the World Congress Center to go along with a big concert at Mercedes-Benz. So when those events are happening, you'll feel their impact if you're in downtown Atlanta, but typically you may not notice their impact in Midtown, especially a few hours before and after the event. So I say that to say we do big events really well. They happen often in Atlanta. We've all seen these big numbers about the total number of visitors that are expected to come to Atlanta during the World Cup. We see big, hundreds of thousands of folks. But when you kind of break that down into what it looks like on a daily basis, it looks a little less scary and a little bit more manageable when we're making our plans and kind of understanding how many folks will be here. The next slide provides an overview of expected traffic impacts. In general, it's helpful for us to look at when the matches are taking place. I know this is a busy slide. It's got a lot of different colors. We'll share this out afterwards. But in general, it's helpful for us to look at what days of the week the matches are taking place and when the matches are kicking off. So you'll notice that most of our matches during the week are happening at the noon time slot. In fact, we only have 2 of our 8 matches that are taking place during the week and are happening at a time other than noon, at a time that might have some impacts into our typical AM or PM commute window. One of the things that ARC has reminded us is that for large downtown events, vehicular traffic typically peaks about an hour before and an hour after the event concludes. And typically, you'll notice the majority of traffic impacts on surface streets downtown and on the connector adjacent to downtown. Now, of course, there will be folks that are arriving kind of 2 to 3 hours beforehand, but really the biggest impact of the arrivals and departures are felt in that plus or minus an hour window. So it's important to take note of these times. We want our employers to take note of what days and what times might impact their commutes the most. Of course, there's still the possibility of traffic on some of these days that aren't circled. I mean, we live in Atlanta and traffic happens, but we want to communicate this to employers who can pass this on to their employees, make a plan and plan ahead to help avoid some of the busiest times and the impacts to employees' commutes. Our next slides will focus on roadways during the World Cup. One of the big questions we got was about conditions of the roads and things like that. So some good news for those of us that'll be here during the World Cup is that there will be a moratorium from GDOT on planned lane closures on on interstates and on state routes inside of the perimeter. So there should be no planned maintenance that would require a lane closure on GDOT roadways during the entirety of the World Cup. For the roadways that the city of Atlanta manages, there will be a moratorium, a similar moratorium in this map, in the zone that's mapped on this screen. So really the downtown, what they're calling the World Cup activation zone. So there shouldn't be construction that requires lane closures in any of this blue area during the World Cup. The other question we got was which streets will be closed? Are there any streets that will be closed that will really impact Midtown? And the answer to that is really no. There's kind of two series of planned road closures. This one is pretty typical to what you would see at a normal sporting event at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, which will be called Atlanta Stadium during the World Cup. This is a really localized, just two or three streets adjacent to the stadium that'll be closed to set up a security perimeter during the games. So again, minimal closures adjacent to the stadium. And then at Centennial Olympic Park for FanFest, there will be some lane reductions. They're actually installing some pedestrian barriers that will help large groups of people on foot travel from FanFest to the stadium and do so safely. So the roads won't be totally closed, like Centennial Olympic Park or Marietta Street, but there will be some lane reductions for those concrete jersey barriers that will help protect pedestrians. So those are the two kind of planned road and lane adjustments during the World Cup, but notice they're all downtown. They're right adjacent to the stadium. We shouldn't have any planned World Cup lane closures or road closures in our Midtown district. And then one other way that the city is tackling potential traffic flare-ups or accidents, et cetera, is with their new integrated command center. This was actually ribbon cutting was held last week, and this is a way for officials to monitor real-time traffic congestion, any interruptions, large groups of fans that may be traveling on foot, transit things that need to be addressed. This will allow them to make changes to signal timing to help move cars in and out of the city more quickly, kind of immediately before and after the game. So we're excited about this investment from the city and their ability to kind of use technology to tackle any congestion that comes up before or after the matches. The other mode that we're really excited about during the World Cup is MARTA. MARTA has several big improvements that'll be unveiled and be rolled out during the World Cup. The first of which is this beautiful new train car. So on June 4th, in just a couple weeks, MARTA will be putting somewhere between 5 and 7 sets of these train cars into revenue service. They've been doing a lot of testing. If you kind of kept your eye out, you may have seen these riding through Midtown. But these will be officially introduced into service on June the 4th. And so there'll be nice new rail cars there to take people to and from the airport, to and from the matches, in and out of Midtown, et cetera. And then you'll notice on the top right of the screen, MARTA has increased frequencies during match days. So typically trains run anywhere from every kind of 8 to 12 minutes. Trains will be running every 5 minutes during match days. That means that if you're in Midtown and we sit on the red and the gold line, we should expect train arrivals every 2.5 minutes during peak times during the World Cup. So if you're worried about vehicular congestion during the World Cup on some of those like key days that I talked about earlier, MARTA is a great option. You'll have really elevated service offered in terms of train frequencies during the World Cup. MARTA is also staffing its stations both on match days and non-match days to help direct visitors and guests through the system and across the city. Their transit ambassadors will be dressed in these really cool soccer kits. They'll be easy to spot, and they'll be located at all the Midtown stations, all the downtown stations, really heavily staffed up to help welcome folks and get them to the right place. And finally, MARTA began yesterday actually installing some updated graphics, signage, wayfinding, et cetera, to its stations to help direct people to the stadium, to FanFest, to the airport, et cetera. You should see these being rolled out and installed at Midtown and downtown stations in the next few weeks, just to help provide another visual cue to help people get to their destinations. So transportation, in summary, is not going to be as scary as some think. We really would expect some discrete interruptions on only some certain days. Please do your part in sharing that with your workforces. And if you have questions, please use the Q&A feature and we'll
Much
get to
more
them at the
definitely.
end. I will now turn over to Marcus, who will share some public safety updates.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you all for joining us this afternoon. And first, let me point out, you may notice that my name underneath says Philip. However, I'm not quite as good looking, but I am a stand-in for right now for public safety. And as we look at public safety, we want to make sure you guys have all your questions answered, that everybody feels safe while they're walking and traveling through the Midtown area. So we want to start off with an overview of what the Atlanta Police Department and MARTA Police Department will be doing. Atlanta Police Department will be reducing their days off, canceling days off, and going to 12-hour shifts. That way they make sure they're staffed appropriately, have people almost on all corners in general area where they can respond to anything that happens. They'll have people throughout the MID area to be able to respond to anything that happens. MARTA Police Department are similar, but they have an additional layer of security that's coming in to assist. So they'll cancel their days off and go to 12-hour shifts, but they're also bringing an outside transit company that has law enforcement in to assist why they conduct and handle situations during the event. For them also, as Rob already mentioned, they're going to have ambassadors at impact stations that will help with all kinds of directions and questions you may have and be able to get you where you need. For us, we want you guys to feel extra safe and utilize Midtown Blue public safety kind of extension of the law enforcement in our general area as we have Atlanta Police Department and public safety officers working for us. So on the screen is our dispatch number. We want to make sure everybody has that. And if you have any questions, anything that's not going right, wrong, indifferent, or you need something filled in, please call us. We want to be able to help. During the daytime, we'll have it fully staffed. Overnight, we'll have somebody that can answer questions as well. If you will, make sure that you write down the number and you have it to your staff of 404-817-0500. Now, so that everybody feels a little bit safer and understands the perception of the area and what's happening recently, we want to make sure everybody sees the perspective of what's occurring now. We're actually 7% below a decrease this year in crime overall compared to last year. Understanding where we're starting with our base, we have set record lows respectively and consistently through 23, 24, and 25 last year, managing the lowest crime numbers we've had in the area, at least in the last 28 years, but probably ever. We only have great numbers that go back 28 years. With that, it's important to understand if you're going to have crime at all, you don't want any. But if you're going to have it, it's better to have property crime rather than violent or person-on-person crime. So 93% of our crime typically is always property crime in our area as of right now this year. And typically it's 92 to 94% on average running through the years. When you look at person-on-person crimes, even though we achieved very low numbers the last 3 to 4 years, when it comes to violent crime in general, we are 10% below last year. These are great numbers to share with people who come to stay and are in your building or clients or people you guys interact with so they know that it's safe, it's viable, it's walkable. You're able to reach out to Midtown Blue and get assistance, and it's kind of an all access to make sure any questions you have are answered. When we look at crime in general and we talk about violent crime, one of the ones we kind of key on and make sure we try to prevent as much as possible, although some of it's beyond our control, would be the stranger on stranger incidents, what we call typically, but not always, pedestrian robberies. You're driving or you're walking and you're leaving a building and somebody kind of surprises you, walks up behind you, comes out from behind a bush. That happens very seldom in our area. The last several years, we've averaged anywhere from 8 to 14. This year, we were looking at 4 stranger on stranger crimes in our general area year to date. And then property crime, which drives our crime in general, as any big city, as the city of Atlanta, but we're 7% down on crime there as well. So everything is trending in the right way. Our number one crime is absolutely entering autos or larceny from vehicles. So anybody that leaves a jacket, a laptop, something on the seat, something in the front, even wires that people may break a window to grab. We want to make sure we prevent that and keep that from happening, but we're almost 40% down compared to last year's lows. So everything is trending the right way. We want you guys to encourage you, the people that are staying with you, that you interact with, to make sure they use the Clean Car campaign that we and the Atlanta Police Department and most law enforcement agencies push to make sure there's nothing in the car to steal. If they look in the window, they don't have a reason to break into it. And at that point, we'll save the questions in general to the end. And between Brian and Philip, they'll make sure they bring them up. We get them answered, or we will get with you later, one of the two. But for now, we're going to pass it to Brian.
Yeah. Thanks very much, Marcus. Appreciate it. And I wanted to just give a quick shout out to all the returning attendees that were part of our event that we held about 8 weeks ago, 7 or 8 weeks ago, here at our offices to get a kickoff meeting going to discuss destination marketing for the World Cup. I got a lot of great ideas from many of the participants about how to structure our destination marketing in support of what you guys want to achieve. As a quick reminder, our strategy here is to help drive visitors to Midtown partner venues throughout the duration of this tournament. And we came away with some really good takeaways from that meeting that said that not everything has to be built around matches and soccer. It's just we can all do what we're really good at doing in this district, which is serving excellent food, creating great and memorable arts and cultural experiences, giving people a lot of different ways to experience the city here that doesn't all have to revolve around soccer. And I want to give a shout out to the group for really coming up with a killer tagline that we're going to be able to use in our promotional message. This was a group effort to come up with this, but I think that it was really effective coming out of that meeting several weeks ago that we came up with Find Your Match in Midtown Atlanta. I think that's a really great way to create a wide platform for all the stuff that we can do over the course of this next 4 weeks together. So as a reminder, one of the things that we're going to be putting together is a mobile-friendly website, mobile-friendly web page on our site for visitors to be able to get to know this place, predicated on having access to maps that they can access from their phone, an event calendar that's really robust. We're also going to supplement that with weekly social media posts and information that will help to re-amplify what you want us to put out there. And then we'll also have a pretty healthy amount of outdoor signage in high traffic areas where people can really get to see what's nearby that will give them some motivation to get out and explore the district on foot, because we know this is truly one of the most walkable places in all of the city. So as a reminder, we put together a guide, an activation guide with different things that you can do to get ready for matches and the World Cup here. We rolled this out back at the end of March, and it's available on that midtownatl.com/FIFA link that Rob had suggested that you go browse. But really, it has some great information. And as we are at the later stages of ability to plan ahead and work ahead, it would be a good idea if you want to do anything and haven't quite figured out what it is, to give this a glance between now and the beginning of June so that you can see how you might need to tailor your operations or augment anything in preparation for World Cup. So the activation guide is there. It seems like we've had a pretty good amount of downloads for it, but I just wanted to remind everybody that it's there. And let me also remind you that as we go through this presentation, we're probably a little more than halfway through now. If you have any questions that you want to submit, I'm keeping watch over the Q&A panel. And so if you have anything you want to upload and ask us, feel free to put that in while I'm talking. Nancy asks if we'll be able to share this deck when we're done with the presentation. And the answer, Nancy, is 100% yes. We'll also have a recording of this whole webinar with our narrative over top of it. So we'll give you both of those things after we conclude. So I really wanted to take a moment and point people towards really what I think is going to be the central piece to how we need to hear from you about what it is that you're planning, and that is our midtownatl.com events calendar. This is one of the top visited pages on all of our website. We get thousands of page views of our event calendar every month, and I think that we're trying to really carry the message here that if you've got something that you want to have us promote, this is where we're going to ask you to do that. The event calendar is sortable by day. It also has tags that you can sort by the type of experience that you're looking for, whether that's something family friendly, whether it's a concert or a live performance, etc. We've also added a new section in there, a new tag, if you will, for World Cup. So that's going to be how we're going to organize all of our events. And so I wanted to take a moment and give you a quick walkthrough of how to submit information to the event calendar. It's super easy. You can go to our website, and then when you click on the events tab, if we can get it to play, it'll start to animate as I go here. You click on the events tab and you click on the event submission form. We just need some basic information like your name, your contact info. We'll ask you for a little bit of detail about the event in terms of its logistics for the title of the event and what to call it, when it starts and when it ends. These will be important for us because everything is obviously chronological, and we also want to be able to work ahead for some of our production deadlines. But it's super easy to fill this out, and it'll take you just a few minutes. I'm also going to remind you that when you do this with us, it'll help us to organize how we structure our social media calendar for that week, all those types of things. We'll ask you for some information about a website or a place to point people for where they can go for more information about your event. And then we really want you to focus in on the event description and give us as much detail as possible there. And then you can go through these event categories, as I mentioned. Really important to click the one for World Cup 2026 so that we know to look out for that and know to put that in with our messaging that goes with World Cup. And then we have most of the venues tagged in here that you can just pick your venue from a list and you can upload a photo. I would actually encourage you to upload multiple photos because we're going to go here into our database to actually pull out as many images as we need to support it for other projects that are not on the event calendar. So think about Instagram, for example. We have an Instagram account. It's very successful in terms of viewership, etc. But the images have to be sized a certain way. And so it would inure to my team's benefit to have access to a portrait orientation image as well as a landscape orientation image. So just think about some of those things. And this will be the intake for where we want to see most of your content come in so that we can turn around and repackage it and put it into other vehicles around the district. And as a quick walkthrough of some of those other vehicles in the workflow process, we're going to ask you to submit your event to our form. As I mentioned, include a mix of images for us, tag the World Cup section if that's appropriate. We will then go into step 2 to review all the incoming submissions on a rotating basis and pull as much content as we can out of what you gave us for signage, social media, e-blasts, etc. And then the third step here is that if we need something that you didn't give us, we're just going to reach out to you because we'll have identified you from the event submission that you gave us. So that's an easy way to do it. I will also mention in the inverse, if there's anything else that's not an event or something specific that you need, you're always welcome to email me, brian@midtownatl.com, and I can help to sort out and triage what it is that you might need. So as we go further into the presentation here, we've got a really robust outdoor signage project that we get to maintain. And many of you have seen this when you're walking around the district. We call these our large A-frame signs. They're metal signs. They're about 4 feet wide by 4 feet high. So they're really big and noticeable. There's one up here right now on the screen that discusses how we handled St. Patrick's Day, which is a fairly comparable way to think about it when you think about World Cup, that people were here in the district. They had an ability to walk around and see different things. And we wanted to give them some quick, guidance on, what's around you right now that you can take advantage of. So we'll be working with these. They're double-sided, so you can see it from both directions as you're coming up to the sign. And we'll do weekly changeouts during the World Cup. So this is a very old school way of trying to get people's attention as they're happening to be out around the district. And then for a more detailed view, on the next slide, there's a template here that we're going to use with a district map that's off to the left, and then a bunch of tiles for where different things are happening. And those will be with dates included in them, and we'll rotate these out every week. So what we're trying to do is get message review to happen in that event calendar form. We'll pull out some things and curate them, if you will, on this design template. We'll send it off to the printer each week, and we'll get it installed on each Monday during the tournament. And we've got some high traffic areas for these things to be visible for people. 15th and Peachtree up on the north end of Colony Square, 10th and Peachtree out by our park space, over at Peachtree Place and Peachtree Street by Savvy. And then the North Ave MARTA one, we're actually looking to move that temporarily during World Cup to another high traffic location, which I just got approval before this webinar to get our operations team to help me lift it out and get it to another place that will involve more pedestrian and corridor traffic. So I think that we're excited about having this as an extension of it. And then the other big thing that's kind of fun, and I know some people had asked us about it, was banners, outdoor banners during the time that the tournament is here. So if you're walking around Midtown, you'll see some really tall banners that are on what we call type A poles. Those have that gooseneck top to them where the light points down, and they're probably like 30 to 40 feet high. The ACVB and Atlanta Sports Council will have FIFA branded banners on a lot of those really tall poles. You'll see those for different things like when we have Atlanta Jazz Fest and other events like that. Down closer to ground level are the Type C poles, where we have our Midtown art banners, which are prominently featured right now. We're going to rotate those and put some of those in different locations from where they've been to kind of freshen it up a little bit. But also, we invested in some banners with ACVB that look like the one that you see on the screen here that have the We Are 26 Atlanta FIFA branding on them. Obviously, as we've mentioned many times, FIFA is like, really controlling of their intellectual property. So we had to go through their process to get the banners, but we're going to have these also throughout the district. So you'll see a mix of Midtown neighborhood location kind of banners that give you a clue that you're in Midtown, some really cool art banners that our local artists have put together and curated for that. And then these FIFA banners at high traffic intersections as well. So I think that's a really robust way for us to take this 1 month experience that we're all going to have together and really make the most of it together. And I'm happy to, to continue to work and refine this as we go and share more updates as we get them. When that microsite is ready, we'll also be putting together some graphics if anybody else wants to use them that are neighborhood specific. That'll have that find your match in Midtown theme with it. And so really excited about how we can partner together and make some things happen here for World Cup. With that, I'll turn it back over to Philip to lead some discussion on what people are doing for different events. I'm going to start going through the Q&A and begin to parse that out so that we know how to route questions. Philip, I'll turn it back over to you.
Great. Thank you, Brian. And yes, I am Philip back by my name. Do you know about two events coming up? A week from tomorrow, Thursday, May 28th, is our first Let's Talk Midtown of the year. These are sessions that we do that give you great information on what's happening in Midtown, what's coming up. We'll cover information on the Midtown Green Park. We'll cover World Cup events and other development issues. There'll be an hour of networking, relationship building, then an hour of presentation. If you'd been to our annual meeting in April, you know what this is like. It'll be on a smaller scale. And if you haven't, it's a great opportunity to come. I believe it's at the Renaissance Hotel in their brand new Centennial Ballroom. We'd love to have you here. I think almost everybody here is a Midtown Alliance member, so you and your teams can get in at the price of $10. That's Thursday night from 5 to 7. We'd love to have you here. And just wanted you to be the first people that know that we finally have Midtown Movie Nights coming back. They're returning June 18th. That is a World Cup match day. We're going to open with Bend It Like Beckham. So put that on your calendar. We're able to bring it back through sponsorships with South State Bank, Community Management Association, Lumivita, and Forever Young. And these are always really fun events. This will be right at the beginning of World Cup, so we hope that you can join us for that. So we're going to move on to the discussion Q&A part of the meeting, and I believe that we are looking for to hear what you are planning during World Cup for those who have events planned. If you could just put that in the Q&A, and we will share them with everybody. If you're planning a watch party, if you're planning a performance, and this can be something that attracts visitors. It doesn't necessarily have to be soccer related. People are coming to Atlanta to see the World Cup games, but also to experience Atlanta. And we want them to be able to see everything that we have.
Yeah, and as we wait, I know that we've heard from a couple of partners, not through the Q&A feature here, but just knowing in advance that there are some things that are planned. So we know that Colony Square is going to be holding some time for different viewing for matches in the plaza in their space. We also heard from the Epicurean Hotel that they're working on some projects as well that involve viewing parties and kind of pairing that with food. Um, so I know that those are a couple of things that are starting to brew up here. And as Philip mentioned, Bend It Like Beckham will be our outdoor movie night feature, which happens on the same day as one of the matches. So there's a few things beginning to percolate here, but we're definitely interested in hearing more from you all about anything else that's coming up. And if now is not the right venue to do it, certainly you can reach out to us through the event calendar or via email. But we really just want to make sure that others could understand what's going to happen. And so Sarah Bishop from the Woodruff Arts Center posts that the Alliance Theater will be featuring Basura, the Gloria Estefan musical on the Coca-Cola stage, the Great Ant Sleepover on the Goizueta stage for youth and families. So that's great. So we got a couple of things there. And Epicurean, thanks Lauren for posting. Epicurean's going to be doing some events throughout the month of June and into July on their Sky Terrace and in the Office Bar and in the Epicurean Theater for some different events and things that'll happen on specific dates. So that's awesome.
And we know that the Atlanta Botanical Gardens will theme some of their cocktails in the gardens as uh, have cocktails from around the world for their Nikki in the Garden exhibition.
Yes. And the High Museum of Art is also starting up its Amy Sherald exhibition and also Los Porfiados, which is an installation that'll happen out on the Sifley Piazza with some three-dimensional kind of clay sculpture objects as well. And Jenny from Fido has posted that Fido Midtown will show all games live with larger watch parties for Team USA and the American Outlaws supporters group. 450 members. All right.
That's big.
Which is pretty fun. Yeah, so we know that that Fido is wired for that, and also at the High as the Amy Sherald exhibition starts up, the Isamu Noguchi I Am Not a Designer exhibit is also still ongoing, following their kickoff last month with the Lantern Parade.
So all of these things, anything you can come up with, we want to promote it. We want people that are visiting to come to Midtown. And we also want the people that live here to stick around town and get out and explore and take part in everything that's going on.
Yeah. And interspersed in among that, a couple of questions that were submitted just to make sure everybody saw them. So I got a couple of different folks to ask if the deck will be able to be forwarded out after this event. Absolutely. So we will make sure to get a copy of the PowerPoint deck and a recording of the webinar out if you would like to use these with either staff that couldn't attend that need a quick catch up on this, or tenants that you work with at your properties. So yeah, we'll make sure all this is available because I think this is some of the best and most current info. And then there was just a question about the stats that Marcus presented on the state of crime in Midtown. Just to reiterate, the data that Marcus presented is for the 1.2 square mile Midtown Improvement District, and that generally encompasses on a north-south axis from the Amtrak station just above the connector down to Emory Hospital, and from an east-west over from Piedmont Park to the interstate. So that's kind of where all the high-rise buildings are that constitute Midtown. That's where those numbers are related to. So I'm looking for any other questions or other events that people have submitted. And so far, nothing else has come in. Sarah mentions that the High Museum of Art, the new acquisitions for photography. So I think that, that's a pretty good listing here so far. And just know that, yeah, if you can keep us in the loop about all these different things that you have planned, we will make sure to get them put up in a way that is, very visible to all the visitors that are going to be here. I'm going to mention one other thing really quickly that was part of our questions that were submitted ahead of time from folks that were interested in attending this. Great article that came out in the AJC, I think it might have been yesterday or maybe this morning, about the World Cup and hotel bookings. And just a really quick synopsis of this. The ACVB reports that there are 213,000 hotel rooms that have been booked so far between downtown, Midtown, and Buckhead. So 213,000. The American Hotel and Lodging Association conducted a survey of the hoteliers that are across the 11 U.S. markets that will host World Cup matches. So it's us, it's Miami, it's Kansas City, it's LA, it's Seattle, et cetera. So 80% of those survey respondents said that hotel bookings are tracking a little bit below their initial forecast. But however, Atlanta is faring better than 9 of the other host cities. About 50% of the city's survey respondents said that their booking pace was in line or ahead of expectations, with demand trending above a typical June or July for that hotel. Only one city posted better results than Miami in the survey, and that was Miami. So Atlanta and Miami are in the top echelon of people, respondents that are saying that they are getting more bookings than the rest of the other cities. Of the hotel rooms booked in Atlanta, less than 20% of those are for international travelers. So I just want to give you guys a quick synopsis that you can find that on the AJC's website today. If that's a useful data point, I know that came up in a lot of conversations that happened at our March briefing. So just wanted to provide you that update. So I'm not seeing any more questions come in, so this might be a good time to go ahead and say that we've done enough for now, and we will get updates back out to you guys on anything else that happens subsequently as we roll forward towards that June 15th. And we're really excited to have everybody partner with us.
And if you have questions at any time, don't hesitate to reach out. We're always happy to help and always looking for ways to do things even better. So we appreciate your support. We appreciate our team members, Marcus, Rob, and Brian, for participating, and we look forward to working with you. If we don't speak to you, have a great Memorial Day, everyone, and we will see you for the World Cup. Thank you. One more came in. One more question.
All right.
All right.